You know, when I was a kid, werewolves were badass. Yeah, they were average people that turned into werewolves at the sight of the full moon, pillaging and ravaging other innocent civilians, potentially turning them into werewolves. But then Twilight came along and ruined all that, didn't it? It turned werewolves into average people who can turn into wolves whenever they wanted to. Well, at least at the sight of a whore who would just cock-tease them endlessly. I don't know why I'm complaining, though. I mean, this is coming from the same woman who turned Nosferatu into the Trix rabbit, endlessly chasing pussy that he can't get, you silly vampire, you. Fuck, I hate Twilight. There is redemption, though, and it comes in the form of an 8-bit video game, Werewolf: The Last Warrior, and I guarantee you, it is awesome. We're gonna play it until we win. Yeah, there's some kind of story behind Werewolf, but it's not important. What is important is that this game is hard, and for all the wrong reasons. First off, the controls are rancid. They're so horrible that they actually smell bad. Oh, you can move around just fine, and jumping is a breeze. What sucks is ducking and climbing. Climbing is a bit awkward, but thankfully you only have to deal with it occasionally. You don't climb like in any other NES game. Oh no, once you're on that ladder, you're either going all the way up or all the way down. There's no jumping off here. Oh, and if you think you're gonna simply jump up the ladder, you're out of your mind. As soon as you walk onto the ladder, you're climbing it. It's like the hero has some weird ladder climbing fetish and just can't stop himself. What's worse, though, is the ducking. You can duck just fine in this game, but you've got the added feature of being able to walk while ducking. A neat feature to be sure, but there's a wee bit too many problems with it. First off, the character likes to duck at random intervals, and while it might be my crappy controller, he likes to duck even when I'm not pressing any buttons. To top that off, sometimes he gets stuck in his ducking motion, and no amount of button pressing will take him out of it. You can't jump while ducking either, so if you suddenly spaz out and duck in the middle of a boss fight, you're screwed. Controls aside, what makes this game difficult is the pure random nature of all the obstacles. You see, great platformers are actually puzzle games in disguise. Mario, Mega Man, and even Kid Icarus all carefully plot out their level structure in such a way that you're actually solving a problem rather than simply running through the game, reacting to stuff being thrown at you. There's zero problem solving in Werewolf. Oh sure, some sections have the same enemies thrown at you, but they're almost all random. A fish that pops up out of the water may appear in the same spot the next time, a bit sooner than you expected, or may never appear at all. That transforms Werewolf from a decent platformer to a miserably difficult game of twitch reflexes. The final problem with this game is the transformation. Yeah, you don't play as a werewolf for the entire game. Oh no, you start off as a regular human with very limited power. Once you transform, by collecting the red W, your life doubles, your power increases, and your jump height doubles. Lose enough life, though, and you revert back to your human form, which, for the purposes of this game, is entirely useless. As a human, you cannot jump to a necessary platform, hit hard enough to hurt bosses, jump high enough to avoid taking damage, attack far enough to avoid getting run into, take more than a few hits before you die. So essentially, the last quarter of your life bar is entirely pointless. Yeah, it has some quirks, but this game doesn't have to be good to be awesome. And what makes it awesome? You are a fucking werewolf. Not one of those pansy Twilight werewolves either. Oh no, you're a real murderous werewolf with sword arms. Oh, and when you backflip, you're invincible. You've got arms made of friggin' swords in this game. How is that not awesome? Backflipping sword arms aside, there are a few things you can do to stay alive in this game. Pay attention to just what the hell is going on. If you find yourself dying over and over again in the same spot, it's most likely because the same action is going to be recurring until you reach the next part of the level. For example, if you're walking under a brick wall and dynamite keeps getting thrown at you, chances are you're going to have to trigger the dynamite and then walk backwards, and then walk forwards after the dynamite's exploded, but you're going to have to keep doing it over and over again. It's a problem with the game, but hey, what are you going to do? Learn how to backflip quickly. You backflip by pressing the A and B buttons together, but it's not that easy because the game really doesn't register the button presses correctly. For the most part it works, but sometimes it'll screw up. You have to learn how to backflip because it's the only way you can get through electrical fields in one piece. Spend a lot of time learning how the claws work. You can use them to attack, or you can use them to climb walls or hang from ceilings. You need to spend some time learning how the various controls work. Up, down, left, and right do exactly what you expect them to do, but the B and A buttons are swapped. This time B jumps and A attacks, as opposed to the other way around. By holding down A, you can execute a power attack that kills almost anything it touches, save for bosses, at a cost of half your hit points. B jumps, but you can execute a high jump by pressing up plus B. Up plus A executes an upward attack, but only while you're jumping as a werewolf. It's used mostly to grab onto ceilings and climb them. Down plus B drops you from a ledge. Down plus left or right lets you crawl in different directions. A and B together will let you do a backflip, but you can't really control it, so use it only when you absolutely have to. There are a bunch of items you can get in this game, but they're not all worth your time. The healing potions, a giant one and a small one, will heal you for a certain amount of health. The giant one restores all of your life, while the small one restores 2 life points. The hourglass will add 50 seconds to the timer. The red bubble will destroy all of the enemies on the screen. The small white bubble will add a point to your anger meter. Get 5 of these to transform into a super werewolf. The red W will turn you into a werewolf, while the blue W will transform you in reverse, from super werewolf to werewolf, from werewolf to human, and if you're human, you grab this item and lose 10 hit points. Now with that out of the way, let's take a look at the levels. Right off the bat, you'll face off against this giant Hulk. He's not that difficult to deal with. Just duck, punch, and run away. You'll take him out in no time, and he'll drop the first red W of the game, and you're off. The rest of the level really isn't anything difficult, just dodge attacks and kill enemies until you get to the second area, which is a bit of a pain. You'll have to ceiling climb across a pit of spikes, avoid getting killed by nearly invisible bats, and then move to the right. But essentially, that's all you really need to do in this second area is move to the right. Eventually, you'll run into the big Hulk again with the Karnov-style music. The same strategy works here as it did for the first one, and does for all the various iterations of this boss. Simply duck, hit, and run. Area 3 is where you'll probably scratch your head in confusion and give up. You'll face off against this wall of electricity which you cannot possibly pass through. At first, you'll be exactly like me and wonder how in the hell you're supposed to time your movements based on electricity that fires at completely random intervals. Well, here's a great way to get through these parts. Before you reach the electrical shields, backflip forward until you're at the edge of the screen, then keep backflipping until you're past that part. Yeah, sure, it's a bug, but the game is so bugged anyway that it's practically impossible to not get past this part without taking advantage of a glitch or two. Once you get past that section, you'll be face to face with the boss, the green slime guy monster. This guy's fairly tame and easy to take care of. You'll be able to get 2 hits on him, and then you have to run back as he turns into a ball that bounces around the screen. Just stick to one corner of the screen and jump to avoid his ball form when he comes near you. Repeat until he's dead. Stage 2 is when the nightmare that is Werewolf kicks into high gear. At any point during this level, if you lose your werewolf form, you might as well restart the level. It's hard. Very hard. The top section of the stage is littered with falling bricks, people throwing pipe bombs at you, some weird Igor-looking guy, and dinosaurs. Of course, if you're smart, you'll stick to the sewers the entire time because they're easier to get through, but they're impossible to get through if you're not a werewolf. If you're a human, there are a couple of jumps that are actually impossible for you to make. Keep moving underground for as long as you can, moving topside only when the sewers prevent you from moving to the right, and eventually you'll face off against Mr. Karnov again. He's as simple as he was before. Duck, dick punch, and move on. Eventually, you'll make your way to the end of the stage, where the boss will flee from your general direction, forcing you to climb up a very tall building. In the second area, you'll be at the top of a high-rise, making your way through some construction. The easiest way to get through this part is to stay near the bottom of the screen and keep moving to the left. You only really need to move to the top when you're blocked by steel beams in your path. Once you reach the end of the stage, you'll, no joke, simply fall off the same building you just climbed up. If you fall down any of the pits in this level, you die immediately. But once you reach the end of the stage, you just fall off the building anyway. The fuck? After you fall off the building, you'll face off against the boss, and this guy can be a royal pain if you're not a werewolf. He has one main tactic, throwing pieces of bricks at you and moving forward. Unlike the Karnov guy, he'll never jump back, hitting you for massive damage when he gets too close. You've basically got one option facing this guy. You must backflip through him before he hits you to have a chance at surviving. Keep hitting him with your claws, avoid the bricks he throws, and backflip through him when he pins you in a corner, and you should breeze through him. Stage 3 takes place in a cave and a base. It's really difficult to get through this stage if you plan on traversing the forest above. Instead, I recommend sticking to the caves. It requires some crafty jumping, but you won't die in a few seconds. The sub-boss is, once again, the Karnov knockoff. You know what to do. In Area 2, you'll be in the secret base, which is on full alert. The level is a bit of a maze with some death traps along the way, but it's not difficult to figure out which path you need to take. It'll eventually lead you to electrical fields that you can only pass as a werewolf. Eventually, you'll make it up to the stage boss, and this guy, if you're still a werewolf, is pretty easy. Simply crouch on this box and punch this guy as he lands near you, then jump over him as he runs back and forth. It'll take some careful timing, but if you keep it up, you'll be able to get past him without too much effort. Stage 4 will, without a doubt, mentally destroy you. The first area is just downright mean. Not only do you have to time your jumps between logs falling down waterfalls, Super Mario Bros. 2 style, but you've got to avoid guys in jetpacks shooting bombs and beams of energy at you, and you've got to avoid fish that jump out at random intervals. I'm serious, the fish here jump out at random points in the level. Now, they tend to jump up in similar sections, but no matter how many times you try, the fish will almost always be in a different position from the last time you died, forcing you to make some quick decisions, and ultimately leaving your success in this level up to Lady Luck. I can assure you, the cheapness of this level exceeds the damn birds in Ninja Gaiden, because those birds came out at predictable points and could be conquered with enough patience. The fish here just plain suck. Oh, you're gonna die. A lot. The secret to this level is to keep moving to the right and killing everything on screen as fast as humanly possible. Yeah, I know that's pretty much the objective of every game, but it's really necessary to keep moving. If you stop at some points, you'll be forced to take on 2 jetpack enemies at once while you're trying to make jumps across a waterfall, while you're trying to avoid fish. Make your way to the right, avoiding fish and boulders along the way, and eventually you'll face off against Karnov again. Cock punch, win, and move on. The next area is incredibly easy. Just move to the right until you can't, then drop down. The idea here is that you're essentially climbing down the waterfall. It's really easy to get through though. Just keep moving, there's almost no enemies in your way. You'll eventually face off against the stage boss, and he can be tricky. As a werewolf, you can crouch under his circular attacks to avoid being hit, and move in to attack him twice. Once you hit him twice, he'll teleport away from you. Quickly make your way to one of the ledges, and you'll avoid his rolling attack, which actually does a lot of damage. Once he stops rolling, jump down, duck, walk towards him, and then hit him twice. Repeat as necessary until you beat him. Stage 5 sucks, and there's not much I can do to help you here. You're gonna take a lot of damage and probably cry yourself to sleep trying to get through this one. It's full of flying monsters, jetpack enemies, and dinosaurs. On top of that, there are fish that want to kill you in pits of instant death. In other words, this stage is all about enduring until you can reach the end. The game pulled out all the stops here. You've got parts where it's almost impossible to get through unharmed, parts where there's a dinosaur harassing you while 2 guys on jetpacks fire bombs and lasers at you. The only advice I can give you is to take out the guys in jetpacks quickly, then move forward. The dinosaur will ultimately jump off the edge of the screen if you keep moving forward, but the guys on jetpacks will be a continuous problem. Keep moving forward, and eventually you'll make it to the second area, which is a joke compared to the first one. Just move forward, avoid the lightning, and fight the Karnov ripoff. Again, beat him to a pulp, move on, and you'll face the end boss, who drinks a potion and turns himself into a super werewolf. This guy is hard if you try to take him head on, but there's an easy way to beat him. Just stand at the far left edge of the screen, facing the boss, and punch him as he comes into attack. Every time you attack him in this form, he'll jump backwards. If you're good enough, you won't get hit once. That's not the end of the boss though, hell no, this is a Nintendo game. Now he will reveal his true form, dun dun dun! His first attack is a lightning bolt, which you can avoid by backflipping when you see electricity surround him. He also dashes forward, or teleports, and can only be avoided by listening to the sound of the teleport. The higher pitched the sound gets, the sooner he's going to dash at you. The third attack is summoning a steel beam from the heavens and throwing it at you. It's easy to avoid this one so long as you don't stand still. The strategy here is simple. Avoid his attacks at all costs, then attack him when you see an opportunity. If you're lucky, you'll get this guy in a glitched loop of hitting him and having him jump away from you, but it doesn't happen too often. If you're not lucky, then simply avoid his attacks. The last thing you want to do is face this guy as a human, because it's impossible to beat him in that form. The lightning is impossible for the human to avoid, and you can't jump high enough to avoid his teleport attack. Keep hitting him, and eventually he'll go into a second attack phase where he fires out several fireballs from his hands. That's literally all he does, is shoot fireballs at you. Simply jump over them and attack him when you've got the chance. It's not hard because the pattern for jumping is really easy to time. Beat him and you'll get to see the most awesome ending in a video game, second only to Hitler's face exploding. Oh man, Ooh, that was a hard one, and gotta admit, I'm getting tired. You know, I think next time I'll see you in my dreams.